Greetings. It's been a little while. Currently working on the presentation that I'm going to put together for everybody on the discoveries of the true history and how we have found ourselves to be where we currently are today, which is a point of bondage and slavery due to the lack of knowledge. So, as the screen says there, this is a spiritual battle, and it's about good and evil, it's about right and wrong, it's about the divine and the evildoers, or the people who seek to bring evil forward to enslave mankind. And so I wanted to kind of show you that because I got a lot of inquiries about how my videos coming along that I'm working on for you guys, and as you can see, we're moving along quite nicely. It's still going to be a little while out before I'm completed with it, but it's important to understand that this had nothing to do with man. This had everything to do with a higher creation, the divine, and we find that to be true in Genesis. And I'm not going to go through all the slides I have here, of course, but there's some very interesting stuff here that I'm going to be bringing forward in a video. But why I'm doing this video is because, again, it's a spiritual battle, and I know that there are people that are out there suffering today, and so I wanted to kind of help you out. People keep saying, "Well, Derek, these courts, you know, they're doing filthy, rotten stuff, and you know, we ask questions and they don't answer, and so when we start to evaluate what's truly transpiring within the court system, and it doesn't matter if it's CPS, traffic violation, code policy enforcement, city ordinances, none of that stuff applies to you if you know who you are, because in all reality, there's only one law, and that's do no harm. But in the Bible, you'll even find 10 laws, and even more so in the Bible, you will find that there are 613 laws of Yahweh, 248 positive commandments, and 365 prohibitions. People go, "Oh, Derek, you know, I'm not religious. I don't believe in the Bible. And you know, I just think that's hogwash." Well, I'm here to tell you, when you start to get into the Bible, when you start to read these things, and you start to realize that unanimously across the board, murder is wrong. And that's one of the commandments. Thou shalt not murder. In this, they changed it to kill, but that's wrong. It says thou shalt not murder. Murder is without purpose, without cause to murder. There is a time to kill, and it tells you in the Bible that there is. We look at David and Goliath, for example. There was a time to kill. So they switched this around in the King James Version and perverted it, and it's supposed to say murder, not kill. Thou shalt not murder. But so this book is extraordinarily important, because not only is it the original book of trust, but it's the original banking manual, and it also is the Bible. So you have the original book of trust. It has all the laws in it, and not only that, but it's also the Bible. So it has all your laws in it. These are laws, and when we understand law and where it derives from and where we get law from, law comes from the divine, and it was very simple. I give you dominion over the heaven and the earth, or over the earth. And so when we look at dominion, we see that sovereignty, control, the territory of a sovereign, self-governing lord and master. And what do we have dominion over? We have dominion over this thing: land, air, and water, which also is law. So when we start to really break this down and understand who you are, once you know who you are, the court system will no longer be an issue for you. Because quite frankly, none of what they are doing in that courtroom actually applies to you. And so I'm just going to zip down here to this one. It says, to put a spell on someone means that you are enchanting them or deeply influencing them. The spell acts by suggestion, a more powerful mind, yours, acting on a weaker, the other person, and this other person needs to fully believe, belief is a key word here, that you are more powerful and it is going to work. What they're using on you is spelling. They're casting spells on you in a court. And let me explain to you why. And I'm not going to go too much further into this because I really would, I need some more time with this. The all caps name, Capitis Diminutio Maxima, consisting of all loss of liberty, citizenship, and family. Here, a person's status is changed from freedom to bondage. In Capitis Diminutio Maxima, there is the highest loss of status. Okay? So when you're looking at those court documents and the name is in all capital letters, you have to understand that that is a dead entity. And that if you claim to be that name, that entity, you have lost all your liberty, your citizenship, and your family. Here a person's status is changed from freedom to bondage. Well, in the good book, it tells us to come up out of her, to stop participating with their sinister ways, to stop utilizing their system. And so to further affirm that, we go up here and it's very clear. It says in Hosea 4:6, King James Version Bible, my people are destroyed for their lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children. Okay? You are using false idols. You guys are utilizing things that don't belong to you. Remember, he who creates is master. If you did not create that name, then that name is not yours. It is somebody else's. To whom does it belong is no significance to me at all. I know that I didn't create that. As an infant of unsound mind, not capable of cognitive thinking, I could have never created that name. All right? That all caps name, that ens legis entity. And so I wanted to read this to you guys. The surname was connected to the Christian name by someone else. There is the entrapment through the birth certificate fraud. The surname is something that you've accepted by contract or deception and started to use it. When we came into this world, we didn't have a name. The name is given to us. We are born. When we die, we do not take that name with us. When a baby is born, it is life born, not birthed. Birthing is a ship terminology. Another deception is birth. And it's got this grammatical correction to it, because when it's all capital letters, according to the ASL manual, which I have in my slide here to help people further understand this, when we're using American Sign Language is not English. And so what this writ is pointing out here is that when you see things in all capital letters, they're actually supposed to have a hyphen in between it. So what we see is W, full stop, O, full stop, M, full stop. Well, W-O-M with full stops in between is just that, W-O-M, okay? It doesn't actually say woman, even though we would like to believe that it says woman here. It doesn't actually say school or cat, even though the way that we've been trained, our cognitive dissonance is to believe that because we see these letters, even with the hyphen between it, we still presume and assume to know what it is, but in all actuality, you do that out of ignorance. Because in all actuality, it's W full stop, O full stop, M full stop, A full stop, N full stop, which spells nothing. They're just symbols, okay? And so the language, the written language transcriptions of a sign is called a gloss, or glosses, are words from the spoken language which in small capital letters, okay? And when it's in all capital letters, ladies and gentlemen, it signifies the dead. And if you don't believe me, go to your nearest graveyard and do a walkabout through the graveyard and tell me if you can find one man's name spelled upper and lowercase in the graveyard. I'll put $100 on it now. There ain't one man or woman that can walk through a graveyard and take a photograph of a stone on a grave that isn't in all capital letters. I know for a fact that nobody's name in the graveyard is spelled proper case. And there's a reason for that. And in the Bible, it tells us about that even more. And so when we're looking at the Bible, it says, he who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To him who overcome, I will give some of the hidden manna to eat, and I will give him a white stone, and on that stone a new name written, which no man knows except him who receives it. Revelations 2:17. This is the importance of the name decree, ladies and gentlemen, right here. This is where we start to be able to wrap our minds around what's truly going on. And so we'll get back to this here because this report's really important. Birth is a maritime, and birth refers to a child leaving its mother's surrogacy. All right? So birth is not a word you want to use. You were born. All right? Berth, docked, moored, anchored, all these terms refer to vessels which is secured in a more or less fixed position connected to the dock. Well, isn't it interesting that when you're in a court, it's a docket number. You're affixed to a dock, all right? But you aren't affixed to a dock only by the trickery, by the spelling of the name and your belief that it's you, all right? The date of birth is when the name got registered, given out to the system, and recorded. We should be using the term born. In the hospital is where forms are filled, blood samples are taken, vaccinations happen, etc. Hospital records get created into a bond and then sold to the government entities. And so when we're referring to the records being taken, we see in the good book in Genesis, it tells you, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Okay? And what are they doing here? They're pricking the foot and bruising the cheek, and they're stealing the DNA. And they're putting it on these cards here. And this is to create the person. All right? And to further go into this, we have the birth certificate. Okay? And they steal the soul before it ever touches the land. And they put it on paper. And they steal your soul. Isn't that interesting? You'll notice that John Denson Hansen here is in all capital letters. And that's because that is a entity. Whether it be incorporated or corporated, it is a non-living entity. All right? And it is not this man's name. This is not a Christian God-given calling. All right? This is not an appellation. This is what we call an abomination. Okay? And so you see, they've stolen his soul, and then they've affixed a dead entity to him, or to this soul that they've stolen, right? To give the presumption and assumption that you are this, and you are not. So, when we get into this, the signing of the birth certificate, you're going to see right here where it says informant. Signature of pay rent. So you're going to pay rent for your DNA, retina, your biological properties, which are your offspring, or you're going to be an informant. You're going to be one or the other, because Nobody owns anything. So you're either going to pay rent or you're going to be an informant. The choice is really yours. But you have fixed your name there, so you are one or you are the other. You're not the mother, you're not the father, you're a pay rent or an informant. Clearly a difference, all right? And then there's, alongside here, you see that it says, I certify that the above stated information is true and correct to the best of my knowledge. You're taking an oath, and you're swearing to the fact that you are a pay rent who will forever pay rent for his biological property, or you're an informant, and only the mother signs the birth certificate, all right? So, moving on here. This is a spiritual battle, ladies and gentlemen, all right? The date of the birth is when the name got registered, given out to the system, and recorded. We should be using the term born. In the hospital is where the forms are filled out, blood samples, vaccinations, etc. Hospital records get created into a bond and then sold to the government entities. Maternity hospitals are foundling hospitals, a place where abandoned goods go to be discarded, at which others can take ownership, all right, through salvation, salvage title, right? The child is life born and taken by the doctor. The guy that works for a shipping company, he takes the baby and lifts it up so it can't touch the land and puts it into maritime, and therefore it becomes abandoned goods to separate it from the mother and give it back to the mother, so there's no bond, all right? A maternity ward is a prison ward of the state. A hospital record is monetized, bought and sold, and is traded upon. Anything registered is not yours anymore. You are just the holder and not the owner. Once the name is put on the document, it now has a separate life. The term document means you are docked. You are floating in space in any empty vessel. In shipping terms and maritime law, it simply means which dock you meant. Which dock did you mean? The birth certificate has a stock number, which means it is tradable. How can you identify? How can your identity be on a piece of paper? It can't. Here I am my identity. The birth certificate is the one created by the hospital, baby born time, weight, etc. The birth certificate is the one where the birth is registered, the name is recorded. The hospital record is the internal one just for the medical details of when the baby was born. This document has been monetized. The other one, the birth registration, is converted into a different trust, usually the government one. When your birth certificate is recorded 3 days after your birth, your corporate entity is established. The 3 days represents the days Christ was in the earth. The parent gives the government permission to handle all your commercial affairs and pay all your debt, and in return you receive benefits, education, medical treatment, a driver's license, etc. The government owns the corporate entity. The corporate trust attached to your birth certificate that was created 3 days after you were born again, yes, into slavery. The birth bond has been monetized by the hospital and sold, and that's where the money comes from. So that baby has been taken into possession, placed into maritime, converted into an asset that has been traded on the stock exchange globally, and that is where the money comes from. For the rest of their life, they are monetized and enslaved by an agreement made between the hospital and the pay rent, or the informant, all done by deception. The hospital is a ship, a dock, and a dry vessel, belonging to an international private organization as a family hospital for abandoned goods. We've been captured in maritime since birth, and we are still floating as a vessel in maritime in open waters, lost forever until we claim back our standing on the land and our status as men and women, and claim back the Christian side through the name and our global estate, which is our inheritance. Every document with the surname on it is just another account created that has been monetized and can be traded upon. Every single thing you have applied for or written or signed with your surname has been monetized. Anywhere your signature appears has been monetized and traded upon. You can enter your social security number on this website, https://www.gmeliti.org/search JSP ? Keyword equal 567178011. That is the full address. And see for yourself all of the liens against you and how you are traded internationally. My 90-year-old Nana has over 8,000 liens against her. The word signature refers to the sign of nature. That's not you. It's a similarity or a simulation of your nature. Your autograph is a graph of your anatomy. Until you've learned what your name really is and how to write it correctly, you have been addressed by anybody correctly. You have never been addressed by anybody correctly since you have been born. If you don't claim your life, someone else will. The format in which your name is written is critical to identifying who that person is. The English language is the language of the occult, that which is hidden. The English language has been developed as a language of enslavement, supposedly developed by Freemasonry. It's the language of spelling or casting spells. Anything you write on paper using words is the casting of spells. You cannot write the word without spelling it correctly. It's called cursing. For example, on a computer screen, the cursor is used to cast spells into the system. The surname is connected to your Christian name by somebody else. There is an entrapment through the birth certificate fraud. The surname is something that you accepted by contract or deception and started to use it. Why do they ask us to do that? When we give away the information, it becomes contractual because we put the name into a form. The surname is the debtor in all situations. When you stop using the surname, you get out of the commerce and back into being a creditor in your life. The copyright symbol, the C inside the circle, means it is the property of the crown. You don't own the copyright. It's the crown copyright symbol by international maritime copyright law. You would need to create the copyright yourself, write in handwriting properly with correct grammar and sentence structure, copyright, copy claim, and whatever you've done, and your autograph there, and now you own the copyright. Your autograph is the graph of your anatomy. Cursive writing is maritime, which is current or flowing. Cursive means it's cursed. We've all gone through government training when we learned cursive writing. Racketeering, racket, a crime. A racket is a planned or organized criminal act, usually in which the criminal act is a form of business or a way to earn illegal or extorted money regularly or briefly, but repetitively. A racket is often a repeated or continuous criminal operation. Racketeering, traditionally, obtaining or extorting money illegally or carrying on illegal business activities, usually by organized crime, a pattern of illegal activity carried out as part of an enterprise that is owned or controlled by those who are engaged in the illegal activity. When you signed your name, you usually see the X followed by a solid line. The X stands for Christ. Legal definition of Christ, X. Or legal definition of X, excuse me. 2. A mark used to indicate a choice or applicable item as on an insurance form. Could this be a mark of the beast? Choosing the legal name over the Christian name. choosing to give up your dominion and standing with Christ, joining with another deity, becoming incorporated with another God. Other definitions synonymous and meaning, synonymous and meanings of the cross. X. Dead, lying, falling, to go from one side of something to the other. Cold-blooded, hybrid, mixed, mongler, backstab, betray, sell out, to lie or be athwart each other, to run counter, to oppose, to deny the validity of, contradict, ordeal, trial, fire, gauntlet, a security transaction in which a broker acts for both buyer and seller, as in the placing of a large lot transaction of common stock, called also cross trade, a fraudulent or dishonest consent, an act of crossing dissimilar individuals, the intersection of two ways or lines, a badge, emblem, or decoration. What we grant in our dominion, our sovereignty, our God-given birthright up to an administrator, that administrator then administrates it, and the administrator appoints trustees, and it gives us the choice of being the grantor to the director of the trust. But when it appoints the trustee, if we jump from the grantor and agree to be on the ship, we lose the ability to direct a trust, and we become the trustee, which are the ones that have the ones that have to operate the trust. But we don't operate, or we don't direct it, or in a lot of cases we don't even get it back. The deception is in the language, in keeping us dumbed down, illiterate, and ignorant. Be wise as serpents. Matthew 10:16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of the wolves. Be you therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Wise in the Greek is meaning intelligent, prudent, mindful of one's interest. Wise in Hebrew is sakal, to be prudent, circumspect, wisely understand, prosper, look at, or wise in the Hebrew is, upon, have insight, consider, guide wittingly. The children of Jacob, Israel, in the scripture are always referred to as sheep and are easily led astray. The Jewish children of Cain and of Esau in scripture are always referred to as serpents and the ones who led the sheep astray. The Jews are the ones deceiving us and legally extorting our God-given dominion and rights. The children of Esau are always trying to claim back their birthright, which they not only forfeited by race mixing with Canaanites, but sold the birthrights to Jacob in writing with witnesses. There is not one name on a birth certificate. There are two names, the given or Christian name, and the second one is the surname. The surname creepeth from below. Okay, when you look up surname in Latin, it's something that creepeth up from below. But when we look at how we got dominion, and let me see, let me find that slide here. I think it's this one. There it is. Whoops. So Genesis 1:26 through 28, and God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion." All right, dominion. That's huge. Over the fish of the sea and the fowl in the air, and over the cattle and over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Creepeth and creeping, right? And so we understand that the surname is something that creepeth from below, and we do have control over that. We have dominion over that, but we have to know how to conduct ourselves in order to assert that. There are two dates of birth, the born date and the registration date. Okay, the registration date is the date of the birth of the surname, and the born date is the date you were born in your place of nativity. All right? You weren't birthed, you were born in a place of nativity. There are also two languages on the birth certificate: English deceptive text and Dog Latin, American Sign Language, glossa, illustrative text. Your birth certificate may read John Paul Smith. John Paul is your given Christian name. Smith is your surname. You may have been born on 1/1/1970. You may have been registered on a date after 1/1/1970, generally 3 days to 2 weeks after they create the registration and it's gone through the process. The legal definition of a surname: a name which is added to the Christian name and which in modern times have become family names. The surname is a slave name. So let me say that again. The surname is a slave name. When the first person in your family became a corporation under the jurisdiction of maritime law, every generation following using that surname is now registered as a corporation. The sins of the fathers are inherited through the surname. Surname means the thing that creepeth up from below. What creeps up from below? John 8:23. And he said unto them, the Jews, ye are from beneath, I am from above. Ye are of this world, I am not of this world. Exodus 20:4. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images, or any likenesses of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters under the earth. Deuteronomy 5:8. Deuteronomy 28:7. Yahweh shall cause your hated enemies that rise up against you to be smitten before your face. They shall come out against you one way and flee before ye 7 ways. Deuteronomy 28:8. Yahweh shall command the blessings upon you in your storehouses and in all that you settest your hands unto. And he shall bless you in the land which Yahweh your God giveth you. Leviticus 25:21. Then I will command my blessings upon you in the 6th year, and it shall bring forth fruit for 3 years. Deuteronomy 28:9. Yahweh shall establish you an holy, set apart people unto himself, as he hath sworn unto you, if you shall keep the commandments of Yahweh your God and walk in his ways. Okay? So he's telling you exactly what you need to do. Jesus didn't walk on water, ladies and gentlemen. He walked on the sea of commerce because he understood the ways of the Creator. And he understood what man had done. They had perverted the good word. They had usurped power otherwise not delegated to him. They had enslaved mankind. They had taken dominion to a whole nother level. And we see that to be true when we look at the Unum Sanctum of 1302. But even before that, we were having issues with that. You look at 1215, when you look at the Magna Carta and the sufferance that these people must have been enduring in order to come up with such a writ and such a document. So with that, I'm going to leave you guys. But I did want to let you know that I do have fundamental progress going on here on what I'm putting together to help you guys understand the importance of the name decree. And I will be offering a class for the name decree. We'll go through it step by step by step. But this is just to help you fundamentally get to thinking about the difference between reality and fiction. The reality is my Christian name is Derek Chaton. That's my God-given name. Okay? That's my calling. And there's a surname that they attached to it at one point. And there are securities and there are interests there. And as an entitlement holder, as a beneficiary, I can also be the grantor in the beginning, and I'll explain this stuff in class. How you started out as a grantor, you now fill the position of grantee. There are about 7 different hats you can wear. It's about knowing when to put them on and how to utilize them. When I walk into a court, I can be an occupant of the executor office. I can be the entitlement holder, which means that I can give commands and tell them and instruct them how to operate the trust. And then when I collect my check, as the entitlement holder, I can turn around, walk out the door, go to the federal discount window, and I can collect my check as the beneficiary. Of course, switching hats once again once I've reached the federal discount window. So it's about knowing how to operate. It's about knowing how to conduct yourself. It's about standing true, standing in the light, and most of all, giving yourself to the divine, the higher power. If you give yourself to the higher power, he has given you his word that he will protect you. In the beginning, there was word. The heaven and the earth was created by word. And so when we start to evaluate that, we start to look at what's truly going on and what man has done to pervert it, to usurp power, to enslave everybody. It's mind-blowing. It's extraordinarily powerful. So turn off your boob tubes. Stop watching the Sunday night football games. Who cares what Lindsay Lohan's doing and where she's partying at? It really is a distraction from the truth. And when you're ready to start becoming learned, these facts are self-evident and they just can't be disputed. I've tried to reverse engineer them, to dispute them. I can't dispute them. There's no way they can be disputed. And so once you see the truth, then there comes a great responsibility. And that responsibility is correcting the record, maintaining a record, and knowing who you are and staying true. Once you get this far into this, you can't go back and pick up the bag of lies, because then you become an adulterer, okay? Adultery. You worship false idols, you have engraven images, you do all this stuff, and you become a sinner who is subject to the high priest, which is otherwise identified as the administrator in a court, and they're passing judgment against you for your sins. For you know not what you do. My people shall suffer for their lack of knowledge, for they know not what they do. So with that, thanks for joining me. Here in the next week or so, I should have the rest of this put together. I will be doing a class. It'll be a small fee for my time, and we will walk you through the importance of the name decree, how to ascertain the name decree, some ideas of what you might do after you have your name decree put in place, such as visiting vital records, getting the corrections on the record, also with the Social Security Administration removing the fact that they presume and assume you to be a U.S. citizen, which is a subject slave of a corporation. If I'm going to be a nation of anything, I'm going to be a nation of heaven. I'm going to be a nation of God. I understand what I am. I come from the dirt. I return to the dirt. Thus, I am real estate. I have a nationality. My body is my nation. My body is also my temple. It's my church. It's my place that I'm supposed to keep clean, right? And so in order to keep it clean, we have to have a clean mindset, and we have to understand what is truly going on with the deception and the menagerie of horse crap that these lawyers force feed the people by indoctrinating their school systems, by infiltrating their governments. All of this was done to keep people from knowing the truth. And in the 21st century, I believe, with the technology we have, we're going to have such a mass awakening, and we're already seeing the adverse effects of that. The mass awakening is already happening, and the first thing a totalitarian dictatorship form of government does is try to steal your guns, because they all know they're on the hook. Every last one of those traitor rotten bastards knows that it's a dangerous time for them, and the first thing they want to do is disarm you. The first thing a criminal does when he robs a bank is he wants to disarm the security guard. So you think about that. They're in here robbing you. They know you're coming keen and aware of it and becoming wise to it. And what's the first thing they want to do? Take your means of defense, ladies and gentlemen. So don't let that happen. Stay in tune, stay in touch. Here in about a week or so, I will have this finished. And we'll go through it all. What it means, the impact it'll have on your life, what you can do when you understand the estate, how you can operate within the estate, how you can give yourself and your children, your offspring, back to the Creator through a testator's intent. And, you got to understand that the baby is born. He has a place of nativity. He is real estate. He is real property. He's infinite income, his infinite in economic value, and he's got minerals within him. There's iron, there's potassium, there's all kinds of things within this nation that are valuable. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a nation. Believe it or not, that's a nation. It has everything to meet the qualifications of a nation within a man. It has energy, both tangible and intangible, and those things are valuable, ladies and gentlemen. And you just don't know how valuable you are because you don't realize what's been done. And I'm going to try and help you see that. So thanks for joining me. Look forward to seeing you guys soon.